got 2 trophies, so I'm very happy with that.
Always love it when we see championships that have the Masters division, and basically what that's telling us is demographic, it's not just about youngsters, it's to everybody, and everybody can enjoy their race.
Yeah. I'm a coffin dodger and quite successful so far, as David May always says.
You got a few years on me.
Well, I don't know. I'm older than I look, perhaps, yeah.
So what are the plans for race 3? Much to do on these cars between races?
Just still hanging on, check the oil and water, and go for the next race.
Gordon, brilliant to talk to you. Well done. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Let's hand back to Scott now, who's going to take you through the grid for the first race of 3 Cars Champion.
Thank you very much, Richard. Now we've got our first of our 3 races today for the excellent Legends Cars Championship, which of course is heading off for its first of 2 heats before its final later on today. They put on some brilliant action yesterday, which was of course some excellent racing, which culminated in a brilliant heat win for John Mickle. And had a great race where he had to start from quite deep in the grid, and because of that he then had to work his way through to the front of the field. So in terms of the grid for this second race, the grids are decided by random ballot, so I'll be able to probably give you a quick run through of the grid if I can find the grid itself. And if we have a quick look here, Legends Heat 1 grid we need here, looking back through the noticeable results. So we're able to give you the lineup for this one. Again, all drawn by random ballot. The qualifying session in the morning is just to allow the drivers to do the laps they need to do to be able to race and to qualify. But the grid is set by completely random draw. So you could get fast drivers towards the back, slower drivers towards the front, or vice versa. But the grid is formed as follows for this first heat. It is it's Dylan Woodcock who will start on pole position for this first race in car number 321. Alongside him is the 44 car, the white car, the front row of the grid from Charlie Budd. And it's Luke Simmons and Paul Simmons on the second row of the grid, Luke and Paul on row 2. Row 3 for Stephen Whiteleg and Kieran Beattie on the third row of the grid, followed by Eduardo Gago and Miles Rudman, the points leader at this point in time. He will start on the 4th row of the grid. Jack Parker and Ben Higgins on the 5th row. Jack Parker starting P9. He was in the podium yesterday in the final. And alongside Ben Higgins, Nathan Anthony and Mark Beattie come next on row 6, and Chris Brockhurst and Marcus Pett. Then Will Gibson and Gareth Sheridan, Ollie Schlapp and Dan Clark, Mike Schlapp and Nick Bridgman, then Chris Needham and Luke Takushis, Mick Mercer and yesterday's heat final winner John Mickle starts back in 24th, and Stuart McAndrew starts in 25th on the grid. So 25 Legends cars all set for the first of 2 8-lap heats to get themselves underway here at Anglesey. It's the first time since 2012 they've raced on the international circuit. They're mostly raced on the coastal, waiting for the red lights. So the 25 cars explode into life here for the first race of the week of the day for Legends cars as they head down towards turn 1 for the first time. So into the left-hander they go. Down the sprint, down towards the right-hander, and as they turn their way in, Charlie Budd takes the lead, and also turning up on the inside was Paul Simmons down the 51 as they turn up the hill and towards the right-hander at Rocket at Church for the first time. So in through the right-hander. Now towards the run at school curve, and these little Legends cars have passed it. They're 5/8 scale race cars with coupe bodies with Fords, Dodges and Chevrolets, but they all prefer the Ford coupe from the 1930s body. That's the vast majority of the cars that run it. Up into the lead has gone car 51, then Paul Simmons up the inside. Steve Whiteleg, who won yesterday's first heat, up into 2nd place already, and Miles Rubin in the black car with the yellow number 1 on the side is up to 3rd place. So good stuff already from them as they make their way up towards the right-hander at Peel for the first time. So in the lead then, Simmons, Whiteleg, Rudman. Also in there too, it looks like it's Jack Parker in car 13. He's up from 9th on the grid. And there's John Mickle in he's the Silver Bullet, car number 4. Turns his way up through it. It looks like he's firmly up the order in the mid-pack somewhere from 12th on the grid. Now they make the way down towards the right-hander, 3-4 abreast behind them. Charlie Budd's getting involved as he turns in through the right-hander. And as they come up the hill, out to the right-hander they go, side by side on the exit, 3 abreast as they come down the hill. Side by side for the lead though, Steve Whiteleg goes up the inside into at the lead of the race, and Miles Rubben follows him through, almost pushes his way past. Now he's got the inside line of Whiteleg, so not only did he help Steve Whiteleg get past the 51 of Paul Simmons, he's now helped himself to the lead inside turn 1 at the start of the second lap. So up now onto the end of the first lap, onto race 2, onto lap 2. So Rubben leads the way, Whiteleg, Simmons, Jack Parker in 3rd, Charlie Buddy's 4th, Ben Higgins is in 5th position, BT in 6th. In 8th position now at the moment appears to be car 321. That's Dylan Woodcock, the man that started on pole position after drawing it in the out of the bag earlier on this morning after qualifying. Wide there in 5th position there for car 20. That being, of course, Ben Higgins. And lots of 2x2 action here. Look at this, fantastic Legends racing, as you typically seem to see. These beautiful screaming bike engines underneath them. They make for quite a sound and quite a sight as well. This is a form of racing that is quite popular over in the US still, but they mainly run on many of the different quarter mile or 5/8 of a mile ovals that they tend to race on so far, and it's a great way for drivers, particularly in America, to start their way on their oval racing journey if they want to go into the world of NASCAR, maybe even IndyCar. Some drivers don't tend to take the karting route sometimes. They start on the ovals and either do dirt racing or jump into one of these Legends and then go forwards in that sense. It's the complex for the second time. So Rubben still leads, Whiteleg, Simmons, Parker, 3 abreast now for scrap for Charlie Budd. That was Parker, I think, Budd and Higgins going. Now Parker's gone through anyway. I think, is that Marcus Pett that's got to 5th position? I think, no, 57's gone through, sorry. So that's Will Gibson. Now, he was up there battling for the lead. I think he won the second heat yesterday. So Will Gibson put in a great performance yesterday to win the second heat. And he has come through from 15th on the grid to be able to rise as high as 5th. And he also takes the fastest lap of the race. So he is the man that's really charging. As for John Mickle in car number 4, yesterday's winner of the final, he's up from 24th on the grid up now to 9th. So up run of 15 positions so far. Really good effort to this point. And now as they come up towards the right-hander at Church. A little wide on the exit there for Jack Parker. So Rubben, Whiteleg, Simmons, then Parker in 4th over the curves. Gibson under pressure from Higgins. Charlie Budd loses out to both Marcus Pett and getting a push from John Mickle. So Charlie Budd, the former mini racer, who's used to racing quite small machines, is in this rear-wheel drive Legends car, and just still finding his feet, I think, a little bit, as both Pett and Mickle find a way past. And their next target, the pair of them, is going to be the number 20 car of Ben Higgins, although they might go into combat themselves in a minute. Also, we've got the 33 and 14 cars. So 33 is Kieran Beattie, who started back in 6th, and he's now currently sat at the moment in 10th position, so he's back 4 places from where he originally started. Rubben continues to lead. 8/10 of a second is the gap, and here goes John Mickle. He says, thanks for the draft on the back straight, Marcus, but I'll take over if you don't mind. Through he goes into what is now 8th position. In fact, 7th, in fact, correct me, because he's passed, of course, Charlie Budd, and also then he's passed later on Marcus Pett. His next target is then going to be the 20 of Ben Higgins. So Miles Rubben, Will Gibson is also there as John. So 3 different drivers shared the fastest lap there. Will Gibson, I think Miles Rubben did have it, then Will Gibson took it, and then John Mickle took it. So in quick succession, the fastest lap of the race changes hands. Now it's dipped into the 142s now. John Mickle's fastest lap of the race, 142.938, which puts him in quite a strong position. So 4th place, so lap 4 at the moment then of 8 in this first heat of today's racing for the Legends Championship. Essentially each day for them is particularly a round. So and that's where it's the final where you tend to score the points towards the championship. But the 2 heats essentially go forward to decide who starts where, but then it's kind of a reverse point system. So essentially what happens is that if you finish first, then you get 1 point. Finish second, you get 2 points. 3 points, you get 3 points. So rather than a 25 points for a win and 20 points for second, and then essentially the drivers with the lowest, what they do is obviously if the lower the points score you've got, the better positions combined screw positions that you've had for the race. What they then do is they then take that order of who's got the least to most and they completely flip it around. So the drivers with the least amount of points and the fastest drivers end up at the back of the field. Drivers with the most amount of points, or arguably the slowest drivers, I don't like using the word slowest, but those who haven't scored as much, will start towards the front. So it then means you get a final where the fastest drivers are together at the back and they've got to charge their way through the front, and that's why it makes such good racing in order to watch them go through. Because these cars are also very evenly matched, as we see up the inside looking, I think that's Will Gibson being chased by Jack Parker. This Will Gibson's got past Parker, and also now he's made the move on the 51 car of Paul Simmons. It means then that the faster cars, like you see from Miles Rudman and John Mickle and Will Gibson and those guys coming through, have to really fight and work their way through. And that's where you also get to develop a good bit of racecraft in these cars, because they're quite small, they're quite diminutive, they can pack quite a punch with their motorbike engines and the short wheelbase. It means they're very nippy, very agile as well, but also very nervous and twitchy. And that means that you've got to really be on your wits about you in terms of being able to get the most out of these cars, and particularly drivers like Miles Rudman, the defending champion. He goes a little wide on the exit of Church Corner, and of course the multiple-time champion John Mickle, who is there back in 6th position, the chrome car with the orange number 4. They've got so much experience, and that's the reason why they've won the championship multiple times, because they've managed to get this racing these cars down to a fine art. And that's the key thing. Very experienced, very fast, and very deserving of all the accolades they've had before them. So that's 5 of 8. Say next target for John Mickle in that number 4 car is going to be the 51 of Paul Simmons. So 5th position for them. 38 and 33 are in there too. That's a scrap going on between Chris Needham, who's come up from 21st on the grid, and 33, which is the orange car of Kieran Beattie, who started in P6. We talked about him a couple of laps ago, but he's trying to work his way up through the pack where possible. It's by Nathan Anstey there in the first of all van-bodied legends. Yes, I did say van body. There's a couple of those that do exist. As I say, in terms of body shapes, you are allowed to run either a Ford style, a Chevrolet style, or a Dodge style body shell, but the majority of the cars, whether it's for aerodynamic purposes, just for the shape of it, because they look good and they're more uniform, they do tend to go for the Ford Coupe. It's a body style inspired on a 1934 Ford Coupe, which all these cars tend to have. But there are one or two that have slightly different body shapes, depending on their preference or if they can get the most out of it mechanically. Miles Rudman continues to race on. He's hoping to get car number 1 in position number 1 to get 1 point. So all the ones for Miles Rudman so far. Now, I just saw what looks like John Mickle lining up, looks like Jack Parker, who was one of the drivers he had that brilliant battle with yesterday. In fact, not just lining him up, he's powered his way past Paul. He even gets the braking zone at Rocket. So that is now 4th position for John Mickle. There he is in car number 4. The rest of the pack goes through. We're seeing there 79, which is Marcus Pett. He got a podium yesterday in the first heat, so wants to try and repeat that. But so far, he's currently sat at the moment in, looks like 7th position. So Miles Rudman then has a gap of 1.2 seconds and looking pretty comfortable at the moment, relatively comfortable, not totally. Still got another couple of laps to go now to secure this heat win. John Mickle, meanwhile, has got past Jack Parker, but he hasn't escaped him so far because he's managed to get Jack Parker to latch onto his rear bumper bar and to try and pull away. These cars do run these sort of very simple front and rear bumper bars to try and essentially, in some way, encourages them to be able to bump draft a little bit down the straights. As Will Gibson sets the fast lap of the race, and also he creates a buffer between the front end of one car and the rear end bodywork of another, to essentially try and prevent damage as much as possible. I think that hopefully keeps the cost down as well. The bumper bar you see just on the back of John Mickle's car there just helps to kind of negate some of the damage impact compared to others. So on to the penultimate lap, Miles, I see a puff of smoke from both John Mickle and Jack Parker. I think as both their cars were leaning on the outside tyres, the bodywork started to rub a little bit on the tyres. Jack Parker with a good run, and Jack says, anything you can do, I might try and do it myself. And he looks to the outside, he tucked in and did into the slipstream, did a bit of a bump draft, and that is running wide there for 57. That is Will Gibson losing second place. Well, he lost, losing second place to Steve Whiteleg. So, or even that, he was trying to get past Steve Whiteleg, couldn't quite make it happen and ran too deep. So second and third together, twitching around there as Steve Whiteleg, as he tries to get the power down on this short, lightweight bike engine legend. As Will Gibson tries to claim another step on the podium. This will mean, of course, he scores one less point, if that makes sense, because he'll score 2 points for second place rather than 3 for third. He looks up the inside into the hairpin. He's obviously listening, turns in. Whiteleg thinks, okay, I'll have to give you the room. And on the exit, makes it stick. Now, of course, this means that Whiteleg gets the benefit of a tow from Will Gibson down the straight towards the left-hander at the bus stop. So Rubman turns in. It's Gibson second, Whiteleg third, Mickle fourth. Jack Parker still fifth. Paul Simmons in sixth position, then Marcus Pett, Ben Higgins, followed by Charlie Budd and Nathan Anthony. That's the top 10 heading into the final lap. Lead gap is 1.4 seconds between Miles Rubman and Will Gibson at this point. As they make their way up to the hairpin, and a couple of lockups there from both John Mickle and Jack Parker. They're pushing very hard. John Mickle, vastly experienced driver. We talked about yesterday the fact that he's a multiple-time Legends champion. He's also done the SCSA stock cars, well, what we used to call the Days of Thunder or ASCAR series. He used to race at the sadly now defunct Rockingham Circuit. And of course, also at the Euro Speedway Lausitz Ring. It's quite prominent there. Anything that's really oval-based for John Mickle on the circuits, he tends to do incredibly well at. They're going to change to the top 10 because that looks to be it's Chris Needham getting past Nathan Anthony. So that's now Anthony being pushed down to 11th, Chris Needham taking over in the top 10. Final lap here at Anglesey for Heat 1 of the Legends cars. They turn out of the right-hander and down the hill towards the corkscrew out of Peel. There is Jack Parker trying to keep up with John Mickle, who is still 1.5 seconds away from Steve Whiteleg. I don't think he'll catch him quick enough to be able to depose him. Steve Whiteleg might try for second. He's close enough to try and put the pressure on Will Gibson here. He looks to the outside. Miles Rubman looks to have it sewed up. For second place, maybe not so much, because if Whiteleg get a good exit out of the hairpin down towards the bus stop, there could be a chance he can dive up the inside to take second place. He moves out. He's got good momentum. He's not fully alongside, but he can try and go down the inside if he's close enough to do that. But meanwhile, into the final corner for the final time. Miles Rubman, the defending champion in car number 1, takes 1.4 P1 as he wins race 1 of the day, race 2 of the weekend, or Heat 1 for the Legends Cars Championship here at Anglesey. Excellent result for Miles Rubman. He takes victory in Heat 1 with Gibson in second place, Whiteleg in third, and then John Mickle fourth, Jack Parker fifth, Marcus Pett in sixth position, Paul Simmons seventh, then Charlie Budd, Chris Needham and Nathan Anthony. So one car, Ben Higgins, looks like we lost on the last lap, so he has not come through. Either that or his transponder's not working, because sometimes they do tumble down the order until TSL. No, there he is. So it's not a TSL problem, it's a mechanical issue for Higgins on the final lap. So he denies him, and around goes 97. On the final corner, Eduardo Gago in the almost another van-bodied legend. Bit of entertainment for the spectators. Across the line he goes, and he winds up at the end of that one. He finished in 23rd place, so they enjoyed that on the pit wall. That was quite an enthusiastic bit of right footwork there from him. Excellent stuff from Miles Rubman then, who picks up the Heat 1 victory for Sunday's racing here at Anglesey for the Legends Cars Championship. Thank you to everyone who happens to be watching through the Legends channels on YouTube and Facebook, watching live. I know that usually the footage for Legends is pre-recorded, but it's good to have them live on this event for a rare occasion. But hopefully you guys are enjoying the action live, and as it happens, I'm sure that the production crew will be putting together their regular highlights at some point later on for you to enjoy. So here's the results from Heat number 1 of the Legends Cars National Championship with MRF Tyres. Miles Rubman, championship leader and defending champion, is in P1 in that heat from Will Gibson and Stephen Whiteleg. John Mickle and Jack Parker round out the top 5 for Marcus Pett, Paul Simmons, Charles Budd, it's Chris Needham and Nathan Anthony. Daniel Clark finishes 11th ahead of Lucas Simmons, then Nick Bridgman and Chris Brockhorst and Kieran Beattie, followed by Ollie Schlupp, Mark Beattie, Gareth Sheridan, Luke Takushis and Dylan Woodcock round out the top 20. And we have Mike Schlupp, Mick Mercer, Eduardo Gago with that spin next to the final corner, finishes 23rd. And then Stuart McAndrew is the final finisher with Ben Higgins rolling to a crawl on the final lap and pulling to the pit lane before he got to the flag. So 24 cars out of the 25 saw the checkered flag. So great stuff again from our Legends cars. Their second race is going to be a little bit later on today. That will be, yeah, that's the second race after lunch. We've got one more race before lunch coming up, and that's for the STXR Challenge. But before then, we've got our top 3 down in victory lanes. Let's head down to Richard John Neal. He'll have a chat to our Heat 1 winner, Miles Rudman, see what he thought about that.
So down here in the Legends, well, podium, not part firm, handshakes with Steve Whiteleg, who finishes third. Miles, can we get you over here? I'm going to go and drag Miles over here. Miles busy chatting. Let's Miles, mate, can we get you over to the side and grab a quick word? Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Well done, mate. Is it your birthday today?
It is, yeah.
George McNeil said you're 60. We don't believe a word of that, so you might want to go and sort him out afterwards. Yeah. But a great way, nice place to come for your birthday, Anglesey,
for sure, yeah.
And grab a win. Talk us through that race. It was early doors, relatively early doors, getting to the front, but it wasn't easy.
No, it was just a case of really getting my head down and trying to focus on putting some good laps together, which I managed to do, and yeah, you know, focus on getting the win really. So. Like you say, it's my birthday today, so I'm 36, not 60.
Sort him out.
Yeah, exactly. But that's a good way to start your birthday, and obviously in a beautiful place like Anglesey and a lovely track. So, yeah, really, really happy with that one.
Okay. And again, obviously happy with the car. I think Will got fastest lap. Your best lap was, I think, maybe second to last lap.
Yeah, obviously I was a potential sitting duck, but managed to maintain the gap, I think. So. Yeah, you know, it was good and nice to get the win.
Always good Legends racing. Look nice and clean as well, so you've got to get ready for race 2. Somewhat later today, isn't it? Yeah,
it's a bit later on today, and obviously it'll be reverse grid, so I'll start at the back, so I'll have a lot more hard work to do. But we'll just see what we can do and try and get to the front.
You're okay with the traffic. Miles, well done on the win and many happy returns of the day.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Will Gibson's here as well. I'm going to swap sides just to give you a different angle for the camera. Get Will over. Will looks like you look a bit hot and flustered, Mr. Gibson.
Yeah, that was hard work. It's we've taken all weekend, but we finally have some breaks, so it's slightly less scary today in that race. But we just didn't have enough laps to catch Mark. Yeah, 1 or 2 more, we may have got to him.
The brakes weren't working that well. You got the fastest lap on the anti-penultimate tour.
Yeah, well, brakes slow you down. So if you haven't got like brands, we said the throttle sticking wide open, so to do something or something.
Sun's coming out, so the sun's shining on us, and much prep to do for race 2.
Just try and pack away because I want to get home before.
Yeah, that's a consideration, isn't it? It's worth it though, isn't it?
This track's amazing. It's just a shame it's so far away. I mean, even as a spectator last night watching the C1s, the views are incredible around here. It's yeah, if anyone wants to come and watch, this is a track to come to watch. Brilliant.
Brilliant. Will, thanks a lot. Well done, mate.
Thank you.
Congratulations. We'll see you for race 2. Steve Whiteleg, we've got Mr. Whiteleg on duty here. The whistle's blown, so it's going to be a quick word. A word with Whiteleg to get alliterative. Here he is. Well done, Steve. Yeah. And after yesterday's win, which was great. And do you know what? You look less puffed out than Mr. Gibson did.
I don't know why, because I am. Yeah, it was that race sort of went to plan. I knew I could sort of get near the front fairly quickly, starting on the third. The idea was to just pump up. Miles caught me fairly quick. I've got terrible tyre issues, to be fair. My tyres seemed to be going away as the race went on, but I'm assuming that's the same for but yeah, managed to hold on, and third's better than fourth.
Yeah, definitely. Talking about the tyres, I mean, have you got new sets that are scrubbed in, ready to go, or will you stick with what you got?
No, we have to stick with what we've got. The new tyres aren't available just yet, so I'm sticking with what I've got.
Okay, we wish you well for race 2. More work to do for you.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the work can only be done with the help of the team, Brisbane Motorsport, and of course my sponsors, Tyres Assist, Body Influence, and of course WT Building Services.
Excellent, nice one.
Thank you.
We'll see you for race 2. Thanks very much. Steve Whiteleg taking third place and completing our podium. Back to Scott, who's looking forward to, as are we, the ST and XR Challenge.
We are indeed. Thank you, Richard. Cars are heading out on their